Can he find his way home?
Can he find his way home, and where is that home, and is it in the heart of somebody else named Cat Landry?
Yes. Yes.
Print it.
Print. There's the t-shirt.
Hi, I'm Kristen Maldonado from Pop Culture Planet. It's great to see you both again after New York Comic Con.
Hi, Kristen.
Yay!
Woo!
We did it!
Yes! I'm so excited for this season. I've seen the first 4 episodes and oh my God, my mind was blown. I couldn't stop. I just binged it all in a night because every night I was like, but I need to know more.
Oh gosh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Of course. So I'd love to hear from both of you how you feel your characters have evolved from the first season to the second season.
7 months later.
Oh, go ahead.
A little glow up?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe a little glow up.
Evan came back after our hiatus, and he legit was the Elliot that we see on screen, where he's like all wind blown and he's tan and he's got his linen on. And it was literally Evan walked in the door and we're like, oh, hey.
I had been traveling the world for about 4 or 5 months, and so art just imitated life in that way. So it was really beautiful. I think Elliot, at the end of season 1, we see him start to make a choice to prioritize his own growth instead of what I think he thought he wanted, and maybe what the audience thought they wanted was just for Elliot and Kat to get together. And I think in season 2, we see Elliot really investigate what that means to be forging his own path, and that it might not be as easy as he expected. And it also might be a little lonelier than he anticipated as well. So we'll see if Elliot can get his way back into the good books, and if he can find a little self-love on the way. Yeah.
Can he find his way home?
Can he find his way home, and where is that home, and is it in the heart of somebody else named Cat Landry?
Yes. Yes.
Print it.
Print. There's the t-shirt.
You know, with Alice, we see her at the beginning of season 1, and she has this huge transformation when she realizes that she can time travel, and she gains this sense of purpose and responsibility to, you know, fix things and heal her family. And by the end, you know, Kat tells her that she never goes back to 1999 and that she never sees her again in the past as a teenager. And that is pretty crushing for Alice, because she's kind of based her whole Port Haven identity on the experiences she has in the past with her friends in 1999 and her mom in 1999. And then when she is told that she can't go back, it's pretty crushing, and she loses a huge part of her life. And then at the beginning of season 2, we start seeing that Alice is poking holes in this theory that Kat has, that she never goes back, and she doesn't quite feel like everyone's telling her the whole truth. And so that becomes her new sense of purpose, while also trying to juggle the responsibility of maintaining her relationships in the present, because she is, you know, she is a part of a family unit now in a way that she wasn't before, when it was when no one depended on her to be there for them. But, you know, she starts being more of a reliable granddaughter to Dell, and she starts having to support her mom through everything she goes through in her search for Jacob. So I think there's a nice growth that we're seeing in season 2, and it'll just be, I think it'll be exciting for audiences to watch her grow up.
Well, for me, I think I loved in season 1 how my relationship flopped, and I thought it was really amusing, and that the writers came up with some really cute ideas of letting it flop. And, you know, there is this dynamic, this uncomfortable dynamic between me and my daughter, and it continues in season 2. And you know, there's the big reveal as to what the moment was where she decided she had enough of me, and she didn't want anything to do with me anymore. And I didn't know what that moment was going to be. I never know anything until I read a script. So I was in the dark until I read it. So that, you know, so that's a big part of what happens for me. And then there's a new man, because he didn't pan out last year. We have another man, and I think he's more appropriate. There's a really cute scene with us when I first meet him. I thought that scene was really cute.
It's really fun,
yeah. Really cute scene. And yeah, so there's going to be a lot going on for me there, and it's fun for me to be able to play romance and to be vital. And they do a really good job with allowing me to do things that you don't see most 65-year-olds doing. So I'm very appreciative to these writers and to Hallmark for showing a 65-year-old woman like the way that they do me.
For Kat, at the very beginning of this season, we pick right up where we left off at the end of season 1, where it's the discovery of, I think I know what happened to Jacob. And so it's kind of all of these theories that she's trying to pull together, and she's kind of reaching a bit far, and she knows that there's definitely, like, you know, it's questionable.
Oh, she's reaching.
But she's reaching. But the next time you see us, it's 7 months later. And so in that 7 months, Kat's a runner. I mean, come on. I had so much fun doing those scenes. I did not have fun doing those scenes. I'm not a runner. But there's a lot of evolution and development for the characters and their relationship, because she kind of had to accept where things were. Maybe not all of that investigating had panned out. So she kind of settled down a bit with it, where she wasn't so like overwhelming with talking to Alice or talking to Del. So once Elliot comes back into the picture, she's kind of moved on as well. So the both of them are in this brand new place, but at the end of the day, they still and always will love each other. So that being the case, it's now, okay, where are we as like real adults? And, you know, having stepped away from this for a minute, and where does that lead us to next? And yeah, we end up getting a lot more questions on this journey for, well, if you've seen the episode, you know that.
You traveled back to the 1800s. What was it like getting into that world, into those costumes, into like these new characters kind of coming into the picture?
I was actually quite nervous about it initially because, you know, we've built such strong and genuine relationships between the cast entirely. And so I was kind of like, well, you know, Chyler, you're going back to the 1800s this year in the season. And I was almost like, oh, well, what about all my friends? I was like, now I have to meet new people.
No new friends.
Yeah, but everybody that is part of the 1800s, as far as the cast, the look of it all, it's so beautiful, and the people are so wonderful. And we had such an incredible time. Like, what a gift for me to be able to take this character into a whole different world. And you really get to see the origins of the Landrys and the Augustines and kind of see how deep that goes, how far back you realize, like, okay, there's a lot more history than we anticipated knowing. But I loved it. I loved it so much. It was such a great opportunity for us to really make it even more raw, even more realistic. We went back to the not like super duper pretty 1800s. We went back to, this is what life is like in a small town when you're homesteaders, when you're dealing with people that have to fight for their land. You're dealing with people that, you know, we have some pretty shady characters that are back in that day. And so it's not everything that you think it's going to be. And then at the same time, so much more.
Yeah, we're really proud of Hallmark too for leaning into it. Like they really leaned into the period in the same way that the present day has a bit of a different vibe than 1999, which we also go back to in this season. The 1814 period has its own kind of vibe to it, its own character.
But it works. It all works together.
And it all fits together in the same world, but it's sort of like Hallmark didn't shy away from that. They really went for it. The production value is amazing. And so you get to see all of the different sides of the characters and how they relate. Since it's time travel and they're traveling around, you get to see different clues in each period. It's beautiful.
I love that. And yeah, I love that in the 1800s, we get to see, it's not just the Landry family, like we get to get some of your ancestors as well. The Augustine family. I thought that was so cool. Like you mentioned, Sadie, we don't ever see Alice really stop time traveling. It's just, you know, maybe some people know things, some people don't. Elliot hiding a lot of things, keeping too many secrets. But I'm curious, like, how far do you think she'll keep going? Like, do you think we could ever see two Alices in the same timeline?
That could be really interesting. I can't say that I have the key to that knowledge, but I think, you know, the great thing about time travel is that there's so many avenues to go down, and when it's rooted in what Hallmark does best with the emotional roots in the family and in this and of course the romantic side of things too. It keeps you hooked on the characters and the emotions that they're going through, while also cracking open so many of these time travel tropes and sci-fi tropes that are just constantly, I mean, they're blowing my mind every time we get a script. So I don't think it's out of the question. Is it something that I've pondered? I don't know. I think I might have to think on that a little bit more. But yeah, it's very exciting at being a part of the show to know that we are being challenged by the pond as a device just as much as the audience is.
That's an interesting concept, that you could live in 2 different lifetimes.
Or that I could show up and see myself.
Oh.
From the future. I could come from the future to the present.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to see about that.
What's so interesting about this show is like everyone's trying to fix things and help people, but sometimes it kind of doesn't necessarily work out how they imagined. Can you really change the past? You know, can they really like solve these issues? I feel like a lot of the characters feel a lot of guilt from things that have happened. Do you think that we'll get to see them sort of be able to heal that? Or do you think that this is one of those situations where like the past will keep repeating itself?
It's interesting that you bring up guilt, and I think that that's something that makes people act in ways that they might not feel proud of afterwards. And I think that that's something that has definitely got the Landry women to where they are, and I think we'll unravel that in a very serious way this season. And yeah, the question of can you fix the past and can you change the past, I think Kat and Alice at least learn the ultimate lesson in episode 109, so from the first season, where we try and stop Colton's death and we end up being the cause. And that's something really heavy for them to live with. And I think we also notice it in the relationships in the present day, where how are Del and Alice or Del and Kat ever supposed to get really close and honest with each other when one of them's always like somewhere in the pond? Yeah. So I don't know.
There's a lot of deception. There's nothing. Yeah. It's not a lot. There's the secrets, big secrets.
Yeah. You know, it's always.
So it does make you behave oddly because you're keeping secrets.
And you have no excuse for what you're doing, or you're making kind of a not so great excuse. You know, where Del sees us always running off and with such urgency, but no one can tell her what's going on. And I think that's also a pressure we feel in this season of everyone has to stop running off, and people have to come face to face with what's happening in the present day.
Of course, there is still so much more to uncover, including that big drop of like, there's some secret that Kat doesn't want Alice to know, that it's going to change everything. What can you like tease about that a little bit, and kind of how that's going to impact the future?
Some characters know things on the show that if that information gets out, it threatens changing the course of history. And so there's stakes because when it becomes cloak and dagger, they might be doing it to try to preserve that person,
or the relationship. Yeah.
But by keeping that information from them, they also imperil the relationship because there's dishonesty happening. So it's a really interesting line so many of the characters are running between trying to preserve each other and also misdirecting each other at the same time. And it doesn't always go according to plan.
And with Alice, it's trying to preserve her idea of what it was. So we're sort of like saving the really dark, like deeper, more what the memory actually is and what the experience was. We don't want to I guess make things worse for her by knowing really what was behind everything, because Kat says it, and with Elliot, there's that one moment before we actually know what did happen. I say to you, does she know? Does she see? And we know she goes back. Does she see what happened? And he says yes. And then it's a matter of, oh my God, she's going to hate me. So once you see that and you go, whoa, my gosh, then it's really like, how is this going to impact her if she does actually find out? So then it's kind of like a matter of us really trying to keep her from going so that she doesn't see it, so that she doesn't know the reality behind said mystery.
I think something that the show does so beautifully is they can take something that seems idyllic, say like the farmhouse, but then when you take a closer look at it and they investigate it, there's all these all the minutia and all of the different cracks that you start to see into it, and the show's really good at investigating those things. Something that might at surface level just seem like a nice pretty picture. And with this show, we go one step further into it. And so I think in season 1, the 1999 storyline, for Alice, it was so idyllic. She was going back and got to meet her mom at 16 years old, and her family was still together, and it was all so beautiful. So in season 2, again, we take that pretty picture and investigate how they were actually all real people too. And so we get to go deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole and find out so many juicy details that are going to ultimately be rewarding. And I think making a lot of people cry. People are going to cry this year.
I'm ready for it. And man, Elliot knows so much that we don't know still. So I'm very excited. I want to thank you both so much for your time and congratulations. I know people are going to be obsessed with this season just like they were for season 1. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you. So really good to see you again.
You too. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and if you want to talk more TV and movies with me outside of the comments section, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/kmaldo. If you like this one, you can check out more of my videos right over here. See ya!